Call the meeting to order and start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll let the record reflect that only Director Roaring is absent. And I'll start with board chair comments. So I had some time to reflect on a few things. So I wrote some notes for this one this time. So the first thing is last meeting, we finalized our goal setting for the superintendent and school board goals in our last closed session with the school board, the superintendent, the executive assistant that was present. The focus of the goals beyond all the normal duties is to improve communications and create assigned funds for future maintenance costs, as we know they'll be out there. We'll do a formative mid-year evaluation in February, and then the year-end summative evaluation in August of 2024 after the school year ends. Second thing I have is I know last time I talked about donations quite a bit and all the donations that we get and how great that is. We have 4 more tonight that we're getting. But I wanted to say a big thanks to all of many of the people that are getting certificates tonight as well, but for the supporters of everything that we do for the school and for the school board. So all the volunteers in the classroom, we have coaches, people coming in reading and helping our students, and the volunteers like with the PTO that are helping with the care closet and the education foundation. So I know I'm missing quite a few, but I just want to say thank you for all of those, because as the cold weather sets in and the holidays and everything else, everybody's going to need just a little bit more help. So thank you for helping. And that's all I have for board chair comments. So I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Director Hackett. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, appreciation, recognition, and presentations.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp Herman, Caitlin French, Activities Director. There are a lot of athletes that need to be recognized and coaches for their success during the fall season. First off will be our all conference volleyball players. So Madison I'll do this a little bit. So Madison Albright, I'll stand up. So she received all conference for volleyball. So she was voted by her coaches, the coaches. She also was the CMC player of the week for the last week of October, where she set the school record for ace serves in a season at 80. So congratulations. Thank you. Change the picture all at the end. All the names. Okay. Next, all conference honors go to Hannah Kruger for her season this year in volleyball. Oh, sorry, Hannah also was all section for volleyball. Honorable mention all conference goes to Hattie Holm. And Haley Wilbeck. And then Glenda Prom was voted all section assistant volleyball coach of the year. So that's an awesome piece. And she's unable to be here tonight. Or do you want to do all this?
We'll do the teams.
Okay. Next up will be Marcus Hayes for honorable mention for cross country. All conference honors go to Chloe Reedy for cross country. Football, we have all district football goes to Ethan Block. and Eli Pacific. Second team goes to Brady Yorzik. And Rex Reward. Nick Lanners was the 2023 District 19 Assistant Football Coach of the Year. That is all for the activities. See the pictures? Hold on a second. Football first, and then we'll do volleyball. Football first.
They're gonna have to stand.
Can I get anything else, please?
Nick doesn't want to go first.
That's higher than me, that's not.
I'm gonna be both back a little bit first. Yeah.
Right.
There. Nick, you're taller than Randy now, it's good. Okay. Good. Thank you. So board number three,
Congratulations.
we're now we'll do volleyball. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Good. We've been there. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Congrats, everybody. I don't need that.
Good job, guys. Thank y'all. Nobody wanted to stay.
They saw you.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Werekamp, I have a few recognitions I'd like to make tonight. We had two things that were, well, one of them wasn't a new thing. We did the career day on October 27th. This had been originally scheduled for last February. Snowmageddon got us, and we weren't able to host it. We had to cancel 30 plus different businesses from coming in, and it was people coming from all over the state to participate in our career day, and we didn't want to have them travel in adverse weather the day that we had it scheduled, so we rescheduled it for October. A lot of work goes into that in a school building, rooms, classrooms, scheduling all the 10th through 12th graders into 4 different career sessions, while the 9th graders in junior high are still in class. So finding the spaces and finding the times and coordinating the businesses coming in and getting them set up and communicating with all of them takes a tremendous amount of work. And the people I'm recognizing tonight were central to making that happen. And I'd like to thank them because it is a tremendous opportunity for our students to get an opportunity to listen and learn from businesses as they come in. And I'm sure that's why all these people stepped up to the plate and did it. They know what's good for kids. And I'd like to thank them for their efforts. Sherry Menden here tonight, Monica Flakus. Mary Fricky. Nicole Cole. Jeremy Shaw. Shelley Crenna. And Sarah Schreifels, for the people who were, and along with David, who also was some of the tech stuff. Just really did a nice job of putting that on. We'll be looking to do this again in the fall. If they're willing.
September 20th.
September 20th is what we're looking at for in the fall of 24 to have the nice part about September is like when the DNR guys come or the helicopter people come from, is that it's not 35 degrees out with a wind chill when they come and land the helicopter. And I gotta be honest, I stood and watched from inside. It was not very nice that day. But to be able to have them get out and the DNR guy had his boat and had snowmobile and had the trailer that he goes around enforcing things with, and to be able to be outside in early September would be a much nicer setup for us. So thank you again to our crew day. The next one I have is on November 9th. This is the first year that we did it. We did it in conjunction with Royalton Elementary School. We did a Veterans Day, kind of a combined program. The middle school, high school hosted a breakfast in the morning. The kids they did a practice run sometime the week before, and then they prepared all the food, served all the food, decorated the commons. We had 42 veterans and their family members come to the breakfast for the first year. I think the veterans really enjoyed it. And then when they were done with the breakfast, then a lot of them went over to the elementary school for the Veterans Day program at the elementary. The people involved with that at the high school, the activities that were involved, FFA, Student Council, National Honors or Minnesota Honor Society, and then our food and culinary classes in the life skills lab were the 4 groups of kids that were involved in putting on the breakfast. But it required leadership, and I gotta be honest, I said we need to have a Veterans Day breakfast, and this is a cool idea. Go. And they took it and ran with it, came up with the decorating and the ideas and put it together, and it really was a very nice morning. So I'd like to recognize these people. Claire Redmond. I don't think a lot of them are here. Joelle Ladon. Mary Fricky. John Koenig. There's like a Vikings game on or something. Nolan Frank. And Kelly Goffers. The last recognition I have for tonight is there was a time in this school district when you drove by this place in the summer, it left something to be desired. And I wish it wasn't that way, but it was. There's times where we had grass on the football field hill was waving in the wind, it was like ready to be baled, and garbages and things like that sometimes didn't get the fields weren't properly taken care of. You drive by this place now and it's immaculate all the time. And when people drive by, we get comments about how nice the grounds are, how nice the school is. We have baseball, Babe Ruth games, and we host the Babe Ruth tournament in the summer. And the fields are beautiful. They're very well taken care of. And we receive a lot of compliments on that. It does not go without a lot of hard work, not only from Tony Duvel and his crew, just maintaining and making sure everything is taken care of, but there are some outside individuals that really have taken a leadership role with our facilities. And I'd like to recognize tonight, Jesse Albright. Jesse is our go-to, if there's a field maintenance question or a baseball question. It helps that he lives right across the street. It's quick for him to get here. But he takes a high degree of ownership and pride in the way that our facilities look in the baseball fields. And if you've ever seen anyone like maybe out there after dark with a headlamp on, it's probably Jesse working on a field. It does not just happen at project time or at tournament time, it happens all year long. He is out there, he was out there after MEA working on the baseball fields for this spring. And the reason those fields look the way they do are guys like Jesse, and Isaac is the other. Isaac Kruger is the one who also helped out with that. Both those guys have taken that ownership and done a really nice job with it. So tonight I would like to recognize Jesse Albright and Isaac Kruger for their leadership in the improvements and hard work on the baseball fields.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. She is
Carrying a big load for everybody else.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Here, Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. I get the privilege to finish up our celebrations and recognitions for tonight. Ours is also with connection with the Veterans Day program. A program like this does not come together quickly, especially when you incorporate all the grades, and from music to decorations to organizing speaking parts and poems and signage and decorations, and all of that takes place over a period of time. And so when I was approached back in September about providing this opportunity to get back into the groove and actually actively invite people into our building, once again, we jumped at it, and we need to make sure that we coordinated with both buildings to do that. So kids are here, they were decorating the wall across in the weight room. And then we, after the breakfast here, we invited everybody over. And we had walls decorated and signage and handprints and thanks and recognition for family members that served, and all that takes a lot of work to coordinate that. And there's many people involved with helping to decorate and getting their classes involved and allowing their kids to take time out of their busy days to rehearse, to make sure that the program went out without a hitch, and it certainly did. So I need to recognize Carrie Wirzgala. Samantha Thompson. And Rachel Ekman.
Many times Michelle's gonna be like, oops, I forgot to take it.
I have the live picture just to be safe. If someone blinks.
All right, next we have recognition of citizens for input purposes. All right, we will move on to reports. So board committee report, let's start with finance.
Finance committee met on Tuesday, November 21st. The majority of our meeting was about introducing our new business manager, Heidi Hagen. Pardon me if I say that wrong, but so Scott Marine is passing off duties and Heidi's gonna be able to be participating in person with us, and so it's gonna be a great blessing for us. And I guess the only other notes I took was that enrollment is around 920, even though our adopted budget is for 935, which we plan to adjust here shortly, and make those corrections. So.
Oh, good, thank you. And policy. So I couldn't make it there.
Policy meeting met. We spent some time on 103, and that's complaints. How we do it. We take them in and the form and everything, and 210 conflict of interest. 404 employee background checks, and we worked on that student discipline again. Move that on to a second reading. And chemical use and abuse got a lot of talk at the Maryland time, so.
Yeah, there was a lot to all of those.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts to them, and then there's a lot of other policies that are referred into them.
There are.
And then you think about them, and then like, we were in the middle of that chemical abuse one, and we're like, well, don't we have a policy for that? Or, yeah, we just approved, you know, some of them policies get redundant, so.
Yep.
So,
All right, thank you. For mid-state, so had 2 board meetings. Our last one was today. So we established our meeting schedule for next year, approved a couple new hire contracts, the employee handbook, and they just overhauled their website. I don't know if you've been on it at all, but I'm also on their policy committee. So I take a lot of the stuff that we talk about and bring it to theirs. But their website didn't have the policies listed anywhere. So they corrected that and got that out there, which is good now. And then today, they did the audit review. So biggest thing was there was one internal control, which was not having enough people to have 3 layers of whatever, which pretty much, I think we've had that pretty much every time I've seen it in our audit as well. So hopefully this year we'll not have that having SMS, but that was the only thing. Everything else was on the up and up, and funding looks good for that. And we got a big rebate from them basically, and we're still sitting at 5 months of balance for our fund balance. Yep. So policy is 3 months that we have, and we have 5 still after paying back that and not paying anything in the 4th quarter. So that's really good mid-state wise. Any other committee reports?
I have a question about this, Dave.
Yep.
Is their employee handbook getting thicker and thicker all the time too?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I mean, pretty soon it's not gonna be a handbook, it's gonna be like a employee encyclopedia.
It is.
So, okay.
Yep. That's for sure. Any other committee reports? Okay, superintendent report.
Okay, well, I would like to officially introduce Heidi Hagen. She is with us now through SMS, and she will be actually in person 1 to 2 days a week. We have our office back there in the district center where she'll be housed, and she will then be with us. Hopefully, if we schedule our board meetings right, she'll be with us in person for all of our board meetings as well. Scott will lead the truth and taxation meeting next month, but Heidi will take it from there, and we're excited to have her on board. She's very, very, very responsive. She's been working diligently on our audit and hoping to have that all cleared up here in the next day or so. We're texting and emailing all weekend. It's fun talking about money over turkey, right? guys? That's good. But we welcome her and she's gonna be a great addition. She had about 7 years in Pequot Lakes. And so now has moved into SMS and will continue to support us. So we're excited to have her. And then I just want to give a quick update that the principals and I are working diligently on trying to get a plan ready for the READ Act. As you know, we have to start training our pre-K through grade 3, which we're going to extend it to grade 5 because it only makes sense with how our building is set up. We have to begin that July 1 of this coming 2024 and have that completed in statute in 1 year. However, the trainings that are approved take longer than 1 year, so we'll ask for an extension to go into 2 years, as will every district in the state, unless they change legislation on timing. And then, so there's 3 professional development options that we can choose from, and we're working through that, have teacher leadership reviewing it, talking to all of the elementary teachers, and then we will make a determination of which way to go. Then we'll have to sit down and talk about scheduling. So we'll probably put together around 3 or 4 options and get teacher input and then bring it to the board for approval because it will either cost money or time. One of the two.
The same thing.
Same thing, just maybe function a little differently depending on what options we have. If we wanted to do a couple early releases or just keep our schedule the same, pay stipends to teachers, because it will be a lot of additional professional development. It will eat up a lot of their time. So we're working diligently on that so that we stay in compliance with legislation. And then I did go to the MRAA conference a couple weeks ago. I'd encourage you all to go next year. It was really, really good. One of the sessions that I went to that was very informative was AI. And I tell you, there's an opportunity in our future that AI can really assist us, or it's going to be interesting to see what it might do that we don't want it to. So Nicole Call has already been working with other tech people in our area and has together a document of different resources that our teachers can use to help them write lesson plans, all of that kind of thing, but then also to how to see it so you know how to best handle it with students, so that we don't have a student maybe using AI instead of their own work. So we have some of our high school teachers are going to Sourcewell December 6th for some training on AI and how they can implement some use of it with them. And then we'll just, as that training happens, we'll see if that's what we want. If it is, we may bring in some trainers for our entire staff. So we know exactly what it is, how it works, and how to be ahead of it as much as you can. Our kids are probably already know exactly how to use it, but
Oh, yeah.
so that was very interesting. That's what I have.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So as we're gonna implement this training for the READ Act,
Mhm.
are we keeping in mind of how we're gonna train employees after this point?
Yeah, so I did find out that the college system, post-secondary system in Minnesota is required to ensure that all teacher candidates go through the science of teaching reading. That was very reassuring. I just learned that from a webinar I attended a couple weeks ago, because I was under the impression at first that was not the case. The ones we're going to have struggle with are teachers that come from out of state that may not have had that. And we don't have the answer yet to how that will exactly work. And how to catch them up. And,
Just wondering.
yeah.
All right, business manager report.
Good evening, Chair Hofstad, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. Thank you for the warm welcome. I've had the opportunity to meet a few of you, whether in person or virtual. Those of you that I have yet to meet, I look forward to the opportunity to get to know each and every one of you and how I can best support the school district and yourselves and the team here in the district. Thank you, Dr. Werkamp, for the introduction. Just briefly, she shared my years of background in school finance. Previous to that, in finance and administration and community banking. Background in education is finance, management, and administration. School finance, although very unique and provides opportunities for a lot of learning and growing, has yet been my most favorite of all my careers. So I look forward to being a part of the Royalton District. So far, as I had mentioned, the team has been incredibly welcoming, very supportive. Yes, on the weekends, over long breaks, working to finish up the audit. Very responsive, and that is my goal too, is to be as responsive as I would expect and appreciate from those that I get to work with. And certainly on time sensitive things such as audit. So a business manager update, this is in regards to fiscal year 2024 and the November budget report. We look at first at enrollment. As you all very well know, much of our funding is tied to enrollment and the students that we serve here in the district. We set a budget every year. This fiscal year's budget is set at 935 ADMs, average daily membership. So of the students that we serve, the average of that at the end of the fiscal year budget for us is 935. We continue to monitor that. We set that at a conservative level, considering we ended the previous school year at 943. Keep in mind that when we do set enrollment, there's a lot of variables that go into that. We also want to make certain that we don't over budget enrollment in the case that then we would receive more funding than we would be due, and if that were the case, eventually we'd have to pay that back. So being conservative in enrollment is always a good consideration. As of November, we're at about 919 students, so a little bit below our budget. We want to continue to monitor that as we do monthly, depending on where enrollment starts to track. It may or may not impact the budget. More to come on that as we continue to monitor that. General fund revenues are on track with current year budget, and as compared to the previous years, it's good to take into account historical trends. In this case, we're looking back 3 years to assure that we are on track, as well as not overlooking and or overstating any budget funds that we have received up to current date. Same with general fund expense. We want to track historical trends, again, 3 years, and certainly resembles revenues in that we're on track with the budget and as compared to previous fiscal years. And that's my report.
All right, any questions for Heidi? All right,
I just have actually, sorry, one quick question about presentation. The numbers are almost probably impossible to see from the audience. Would there be a way to create a presentation to where we can actually read it from the screen? Like I can't even read it from where I'm sitting. That's my
Yeah,
eyesight.
that's certainly a possibility. It's a lot of information to put on the screen in order to get the full picture.
Right.
To divide it out amongst pages, I can certainly consider that for next presentation and see what I can come up with.
If it's adjustable, great. If it's not, I understand. It's been this way for a while, but I thought maybe. with a
Yeah,
new person,
I'm not
new set of
sure.
Eyes, maybe you had a new.
Yes, no, and I certainly thought of that as well, you know, even just standing up here, I can't verbatim read the numbers off the screen. Having it accessible, obviously, on your laptops and then publicly on the website. But yes, if you don't have it pulled up in front of you, I agree.
Right.
It's difficult to read. So I'll consider that and see what options we have.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Principal report.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Werekamp. Three quick things for the high school, middle school conferences we had the week before Thanksgiving. They went well. We used to do the old arena style where everyone would sit in the gym and wait in line for 45 minutes to talk to a teacher. Get out of line, try to get into another teacher, and then lose your spot in the other line. And now we do them by scheduling. parents can schedule off conferences with whatever teachers that they want to visit with. And they can schedule them right in a row. My wife and I did conferences and she ran drastically over the time that she was supposed to. And so the 10-minute windows didn't work for us very well. And so we had to split duty and take them. I had to jump in. But it is a nice feature that, you know, you get a chance to be in the classroom with the teacher in the spot where your kid has class, and there's more opportunities to look at artifacts and things that they're doing. But the 2 nights seem to go very well. We are already, the 23-24 school year for counselors and principals is over already. We are already, a majority of the work that we're doing right now is working on next school year already. We started our department meetings and master scheduling committees, have been going already for a few weeks. And we are working on getting the master schedule ready for next year. A lot of work goes into that, figuring out the classes and the rotations and the things that we're going to be offering. And so that work begins already here in November. And so we're on to working on next school year already. And the third thing is we have a band concert, holiday concert coming up next Monday, a week from tonight. 6 o'clock is the 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And at 7 o'clock is the 5th grade and the senior high band. So if you'd like to partake in a little festive holiday cheer, it'll be the holiday band concert next Monday night, 6 and 7 p.m. in the South Gym. Any questions? Oh, good. Thank you.
Here, Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. A lot of our stuff happened early part of November. We too had conferences. That first week is super busy with everything going on. We had 2 nights of conferences, and plus it's election night, and then you've got, well, people want to get out of town for deer hunting, and so it was a crazy busy early part of the month, and the conferences went really, really well. We had help out from the PTO, helped organize NHS kids to come over and give some type of supervision to siblings so that parents and their children can go and listen in conferences rather than put that down. Shh, quiet, like, let me listen, like, or give a device to just kind of pacify them. So hopefully we get more participation in that, but overall attendance was really strong for our kids. And then obviously we had our Veterans Day program on the 9th. And then the next day was our in-service day. And in that, a lot of time was spent on our PLCs. And staff really enjoyed listening to what other groups are doing. To have a document K-12 that was shared pre-K-12 of what our SMART goals are, what data types are we looking at, how are we achieving those, where are we strong, and to be vulnerable, where do we need help, and to go in and do a structured debrief about, have you tried this? What about these suggestions? This is where we're struggling. And it was very common for groups to have some similar struggles, but also have some time to collaborate and get together as grade levels of how can we work together to solve these problems. So that was a really good day, and they really enjoyed that. I even had a teacher. This is one of the first in-services I've had where I'm not clock watching. So that was great feedback to have. Coming up here for the elementary, we are approaching our not only our 5th grade band concert for the elementary next Monday at 7, but 2 days later on Thursday, the 7th, we have our elementary Christmas concert for grades 1, 2, and 3 in the South Gym. We have a 1:30 show, which the entire elementary will come over and watch. And then we've also got a 6:30 show as well, performance in that South Gym. So that'll be a fun time. And then we've got our next board meeting. So that's all we've got going.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you. Athletic director.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp Herman, and Caitlin Frenchek, Activities Director. As you can see by recognition of all of our athletes and coaches, our fall season was very successful. Our volleyball team did finish third. Our football team ended up finishing out the season strong, winning the first game of section play. And then our cross-country team also had a good showing at sections. Getting ready for winter sports, competitions for girls hockey and dance have started. Our first game for girls basketball is actually tomorrow against Albany, and they play Thursday against Cathedral, and then travel to West Central area on Saturday. Boys basketball plays on Thursday against Long Prairie Great Eagle. And then wrestling heads down to Coon Rapids on Saturday for a big, I think, 16 team tournament or something like that. So we're off to a good start. Some numbers just for you guys to have. Girls hockey, we have 4 girls participating from Royalton. Dance, we have 6, and those are co-op sports. Boys basketball for junior high, we had 10 7th graders and 13 8th graders. Right now, for our 9 through 12 program, we're sitting at 36 basketball players for boys. Girls basketball for junior high, these are rough estimates because their season does not start till January. There's roughly 8 and 8 girls. There are a couple of them for 7th and 8th years that are practicing up with the varsity level, JV level girls, and just to get them more practice time and maybe some extra exposure. But our 9 through 12 numbers is at 14. Wrestling, we have 4 wrestlers from Upsala, which it sounds like in the next year or so, we should have more coming from them with their youth program. And then for the 7th through 12th grade, we have 25 athletes signed up currently. A lot of these are just getting started, so I can see a couple of kids adding in things like that. So we're looking forward to getting busy, and I think next Tuesday is our first home varsity basketball game, which is girls. And then I think on Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which one, we have another home game. So, any questions for me?
No, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is a consent agenda approval. So the board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, a director can pull an item off the consent agenda for further discussion. So on this consent agenda is the approval of regular board meeting minutes from October 23rd, claims, accounts, and financials, approval of resignations and terminations, approval of new hires. And that's it for this one.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I'd love to move the consent agenda.
All right, Director Hackett, second Director Bowman. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, targeted services with freshwater.
Okay, so, I just want to bring this forward for our discussion tonight. We don't have to decide on anything. We'll bring it back again next month for review again. Go to the next slide. I want to just kind of explain a little bit about what targeted services is and credit recovery programs. Currently, both are programs that serve, fall under the umbrella of alternative learning through MDE. Both receive revenue from MDE based on seat time. Targeted services is intervention or prevention programming for criteria defined in statute for at-risk kindergarten students, kindergarten through 8th grade. Credit recovery, also known as alternative learning program for high school students, is a way for students to gain academic credit if they're deficient. That's what it is. Go to the next slide. The only districts that can provide or receive targeted services revenue or extended time revenue are those districts that have state approved alternative learning centers or ALCs. Districts who have approved alternative learning programs can offer credit recovery and receive extended time revenues. That'd be your high school students. Just so you know, Royalton does not have an ALC. Originally, Little Falls was providing ALC services for our district as well as many in the area. When we then learned that we were a cooperating district, which was a really good thing. So our hope is that Little Falls would be able to provide us that umbrella so we could start offering targeted services here. However, when MDE came in and reviewed Little Falls, it was determined that it's actually an ALP functioning as an alternative learning program versus an alternative learning center. In order to have an alternative learning center, you have to have alternative programming for high school and middle school students, and they didn't have it for middle school students. So Little Falls is going to partner with Freshwater Education District so that they too can start providing targeted services in their future if they choose to. So we've reached out and met with the executive director and other staff for Freshwater Education District to see about partnering with them. So that what happens is that they basically handle our funds, and I have another slide to talk through that. They offer targeted services, the umbrella for many districts in the area. Peers, again, they will be with Little Falls, and there's many out west that are a part of the 10 members that are a part of their district, like Mid-State is for us. Next slide. So Freshwater Education District, they oversee the targeted services program. They report our students for extended time for our district utilizing our local MARS information. They take the revenue, we retain 10% of it. The teachers are our teachers, but they're actually paid by Freshwater Education District. All these hours are over and above your regular core day. It doesn't impact our general education funding. It's a completely separate funding stream. Next slide. We provide the curriculum. Again, there are staff. They just pay for them. The summer school, and this is basically for summer school programming, or it could be for after school programming, but we would be focusing on summer school programming. It takes place in our classrooms with our teachers, just funded through them. Next slide. The student contact time is input in the MARS system, and the hours generate extended time revenue. Students generate $5.47 per hour of teacher student contact time. Extended time revenue does not cover breakfast and lunch supervision time. If you were to offer breakfast and lunch, you're not required to, but you can, and it's free because of the new statute, the new law that has been passed. Extended time revenue does not cover transportation. Next slide. Royalton Summer School revenue. So for example, we have these were estimates. If you were to have 50 students attend 4 days a week for 3 weeks, you'd have 3 hours of classroom instruction and 1 hour of breakfast and lunch. You generate about $9,846. Same thing at the high school, middle school. If those two together had about 50 students, you generate about $9,846 in revenue. The total revenue generated would be, in this scenario, $19,692. Freshwater would bill for 90% of that revenue. So we actually the revenue comes into us. They bill us for $17,722. We would have a hold back $1,969 in this scenario. Next. The expenses would run like this. Elementary school, if you had 4 teachers for 40 hours, and they would cover 2 hours of pre-program prep, 2 hours of post-program prep, 36 hours of instruction. They also include FICA and TRA. A lead teacher or coordinator earns about $233. The expenses covered by extended time revenue, $6,289. Same number at the high school if it was the same number of teachers in this particular scenario. Total summer school expenses covered by extended time revenue is $12,578 paid by Freshwater. So the check that the teachers receive comes from Freshwater. Expenses not covered by extended time revenue. Transportation. Last year's transportation cost was $6,635 approximately. Nursing services about $1,500. We paid out quite a bit more in coordinator expense of both high school, middle school, and elementary. So the total amount of expenses, if it was run exactly like this past summer school would run you $15,635 not covered by the extended time revenue. Initially, the hope was to use FIN 161 of ESSER funds. However, that's only going to cover about $3,000 of the programming. The rest of it has been used up for this past year's summer school and the prior year's summer school, and for our behavior interventionists that's been in place for the last 2 years through Northern Pines. So currently, that's what has used. The ESSER money has covered the transportation, covered the nursing services in the past 2 years. So the goal initially would be to use FIN 161, but it's only going to be about 3,000. So we'd still have to collect the extended time revenue, and then we'd have to determine we won't be able to use ESSER funds for transportation and nursing because it's been spent. And we would have to look at a change in that the model of the coordinator position if we were to do this next year. The next slide. Some rationale for why we want to enter into this partnership. Number one, you have a funding stream to offset the cost of continuing the summer school. With the READ Act adherence, if a student is not reading at grade level, we are required to provide intervention services. Summer school is an intervention service. So this would allow us to stay in compliance with the READ Act. It provides academic support to children not at grade level, along with social emotional support. The administrative management of this program is completed by Freshwater, and then our teachers are still teaching our children. And we have flexibility in programming. We can run targeted services lots of different ways. You can run it 3 weeks in the summer, you could run it 4 weeks in the summer, you could run it during the school year, after school, lots of different ways to run targeted services. What we have to think about is if we want to continue offering summer school in our future, do we want to continue offering transportation, which extended time revenue will not cover? Do we want to continue offering nursing services? Do we want to continue offering breakfast and lunch because there's a cost to that supervision that extended time revenue does not cover? There is potential for additional funding. So the legislator that authored the READ Act has said, and I watched the webinar she was on, that she's going to go back this session asking for additional dollars to help fund the READ Act. So hopes in covering the professional development, et cetera. There is always potential that they'll increase extended time revenue. I don't know how likely that is. Extended time revenue, that $5.47 has been in place for well over 20 years. Hopefully with the READ Act, though, more people will come forward and say, if you want us to provide interventions, then start supporting with additional extended time revenue. And there's always potential increases in other funding streams. I would like us to enter into this agreement with Freshwater because it is a revenue source. I think it keeps our summer school going. We would have to think about those other things that might look different. It could look exactly the same if you wanted to use other funding sources to offset what extended time revenue doesn't cost. Just lots to think about on how you'd want to look at what the program looks like and then how you fund it.
Great questions.
Yeah. I hope I can answer.
But would we even be able to have a summer school without having nursing services?
You could, I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah.
I just feel like with things that can happen outside, you know, when they get a break and if they get ill and we don't have secretarial services and so you'd be relying on a teacher, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering.
I have a couple of questions. So is our staff paid the same that like we would pay them?
Great question. Actually, with this model, the one we'd enter into, they get about $1.47 increase or 42 cents increase in what we currently pay. Okay. We're paying $31 and I believe it's $32.40 or.
Like other questions, so taking the funding piece away, but our option would be to use a service like this.
We can't get targeted services revenue on our own. We have to partner with someone who
Somebody
has
like
an
this.
ALC.
Or we'd have to become an ALC, which
Which
I'm guessing is.
Could never afford to do, because you'd have to have a licensed teacher in all content
Yeah.
areas, they have their own school. We
So
would
we
have.
don't use a service, or really it's either we use a service or we don't offer it.
Or we
correct?
don't get targeted services revenue. Now, it's
Oh,
all for
okay.
summer school.
But then
just
you have
kind
to
of-
cover all of it versus just these extra.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Is Midstate not an ALC?
No, and that's interesting. They are not. They do offer setting core services. They offer, they again offer our special education support with OT, PT, all of that. They do not have an ALC, which I was kind of surprised.
So Little Falls has been operating under the umbrella of an ALC,
Well, they,
and they just
They
got
thought they were-
corrected or?
yeah, they
just
didn't do
recently?
anything wrong because they were
Right.
functioning like an ALP because they weren't
Right,
doing targeted services. They've never done targeted services. So they did everything fine. They just thought they were functioning as a proper ALC and you can't without a middle school program.
Because I was under the impression that we sent some of our students
They
there
do.
this year,
They
right?
still
Just
go,
as early
because
as
it's
this year.
they still function as an ALP, but it's an
Okay.
all day, regular day of an ALP, so it's still a different setup than a regular school day.
So they're coming under the conformity of freshwater.
Well, their ALP is fine. They can
Oh.
function as the ALP just fine. What they're gonna do if they would have to decide if they wanna offer targeted services, then they would talk to Freshwater. Or someone like Freshwater that has an ALC.
They're not gonna create their own ALC,
I don't believe they are at this time. I don't know what their future.
so they'd be big enough to, wouldn't they?
So what happens if we don't do this? If we did nothing right now?
We'd have to determine if we would not be able to offer summer school next summer without using a different funding stream, like our general fund. And we could decide not to have some, we've only had summer school for 3 years. So if we didn't offer it, you would just have no,
So it would just cost the general fund,
it would
basically.
cost the general fund, unless we find some other ways to. Yeah, it costs your general fund pretty much.
So basically, this is lessening the burden on our general fund.
If you want to continue offering summer school.
Yep.
Because there's always the option of not offering summer school as well.
Yeah. So, I don't remember it. How many did we have in summer school last year?
We ran about
Like 18 and
40 at the
30.
elementary, and we ran about 25 and 20, wasn't it? Joel, middle school, like 20 or 25,
About 25 each.
25 each, and then the elementary ran a little bit less, about 40, 48, they were running over 50, and the first year was like 60.
what is the ratio?
1 to 15, I believe.
Okay.
Under freshwater,
11-1.
is it 11 to 1? Oh, 11 to 1.
15 is the teacher assistant.
15 is with teacher. Which we didn't have any paraprofessionals working in our summer school. Just teachers.
What else does Freshwater provide?
Well, they're like a mid-state, so they offer setting core services for their member districts. And they're more west of here, like with the other Region 5 districts, Lavina, Walker, I know he goes to there, those guys up there.
Did you worry at all about staff leaving?
No. No, there are staff, so they would just be at our elementary
Okay.
school and hire our, yeah.
So do we have any projection against what the READ Act is saying based on our current test scores and like not off the bat, but is that something we think we understand is how many, because of the READ Act will add into this?
No idea.
You know what I mean? Like who?
Yeah, like
who's-
how many more might participate in summer school that require intervention and choose to do it in the summer? I'm unsure. We have to, those numbers are a little ambiguous. Not to mention, we're not completely clear on exactly what the expectation of intervention looks like. You have tier 2, you have tier 3 interventions. Some students aren't gonna all need tier 3 intervention, so we're not, I don't know that they're clear.
Yep. That's all I was thinking is we could have,
We
you
could
know,
have way more.
105 from the
Yeah.
elementary school now,
Right,
like,
that's right.
that's gonna, but
And it's still voluntary, so you can't force a child to take summer school.
Mhm.
So, you know, you never know what parents may or may not want to.
it's kind of legislating what we've already been doing.
Yeah, and a lot of schools offer summer school all the time because of the benefits of summer school aren't just academic, that touch point for the social emotional time to keep that going, the time for that relationship building, so students still feel a part of school and have almost somewhere to go in the summer. So there's just a lot of different benefits that come from summer school, so it's been offered for a long time. It's just unfortunate that the revenue stream hasn't increased at all.
Well, it kind of has, you just gotta jump through the hoops to get it, right?
No, the 547's been
But
stagnant.
I mean, like, you can go to this Freshwater and you can find
Yeah, but
partial,
the 547 is the same regardless,
no matter what.
no matter what. So it's just something to think of.
When you broke down the expenses, what's the total expense of our summer school? You broke it down like how it would be covered for freshwater and there's basically
Well, I
just the
took-
15,000 that's gonna be
Yeah,
not
it's
covered.
basically kind of what it was last summer.
That's the total, 15,000 for the whole.
That's not covered.
That's just the uncovered
Yeah,
portion,
you have to
right?
look at those other, and if you wanna go back slides, Michelle, we can look at some of those numbers.
I just wondered what
Because
is
you're looking
our
at
total
50 you're looking at-
expense?
This is and that coordinator expense will come way down on that. But last year, that's what.
That's what we spent.
That,
that's
yep,
the
and if you
expense,
go
okay.
down another slide, here's your expenses, you have another 12,500, so you're looking at, $30,000.
Okay.
And I think actually when it came through, when we looked at it from last year, it's about 35, it's running somewhere in there, so. And these are, again, estimates on that many teachers, it could change, obviously, this is just a.
Yeah,
Think-
right.
I think the important thing to remember there is, as board people, we would automatically take that money and put it against like credit recovery or something else, but there's other things that happen at summer school, like the social emotional stuff that is not measurable. So, and that part, I think we gotta really keep in mind.
And we did pay our teachers this past 2 summers a little bit more prep time than what this gives you, because this is what they would get under the freshwater example. I think ours came
What
in-
did our students do prior to this? You said we've only been doing it for 3 years, right? What did they do prior?
There was no
There
summer.
was nothing. So we noticed.
They didn't graduate.
Right.
So I'm not trying to be a joke there. That's, I mean,
Our graduation rates are pretty steady, somewhere year, so.
So we noticed improvements. Any of you guys notice improvements with the summer school to help those kids out to go?
Yeah, before we had a formal summer school, the average credit recovery in the summer was probably three to 4 credits. And we're up around 18 to 20 credits with the actual formal summer school, so pretty huge increase in getting those done.
Right.
I think it's also, it's interesting you ask that question, because it'd be interesting to see if they had offered it before, because of the COVID effect. The reason that summer school came in is because of the COVID piece, right? So we still don't know what we don't know about how this has affected kids over time. But we can definitely see the benefit of that connection. I've had elementary teachers come up to me really pleased that we have it. In fact, one teacher came to me concerned that a couple kids weren't there, they really wanted to be there, because he knew the support that had happened. And I think it was real good for middle schoolers. They were really engaged.
The benefits have spilled over the students that we saw find success in middle school, which were students who struggled during their school year in middle school, came back to school this fall and have experienced higher success.
so instead of it being a mountain in front of them, they got over that and
Built some connections with.
paddle in their own canoe now.
And so if we didn't join that, the total cost to us would be how much? Because we do get some revenues, right? We do get-
No, if we didn't use freshwater, well, like I said, we got about 3,000 left in SR 161.
Yeah.
But if you figure, let me just throw out an even number, if it's $35,000 to run our whole summer school and we don't use target services dollars through a freshwater, then it would have to all come out of that general fund.
So why wouldn't we want to do it? I guess I don't understand why we're even having this conversation.
Well, I thought we talked about looking at things twice when it's first.
Right, no, I
so we
know.
just Kinda,
I'm just,
yeah. And what
are
we
there
can
any
talk about.
cons to it at all?
Well, just the understanding that if we want to continue offering it in the same way that we've offered it. By the transportation costs, the lunch and breakfast, because you have to have supervision, of course, and you pay your food service people and you pay, we are gonna have a cost that's gonna come out of that general fund. To me, I find it to be worth it because I see those kids in attendance, but the board needs to really know to make that decision, feel comfortable with it. I don't want any.
Well, I think lunch and transportation are imperative for participation for families.
I
honestly.
agree with you.
And the lunch and breakfast are free, so hey, why would we withhold that? I mean, we have to pay staff time, but the breakfast and lunch, we know they're getting 2 meals a day for 3 weeks.
That's what I was gonna say,
Feels good.
after last year talking with some of the folks, especially at the elementary school, that was one of the best things for some of those kids.
Yeah.
For sure. And everybody likes to eat lunch together at school and,
Yeah.
Will this allow us to expand it then, allow more kids to,
The more kids we get, I mean, we would be able to serve as long as we can staff it, as long as we can find teach. And we did not have trouble at all, have we, for the last 3 years finding staff. Everybody was very willing. So that was good.
so how would our ZAP program work with something like this?
Yes, we'd have to talk to, because we can offer credit recovery after school, we can offer targeted services after school too. So we could look at expanded programming in the year to see how that can get covered.
Yeah, well, I'd be curious to know if there is a need. You know what I mean? After the first, half a semester done, we're getting close to the end of the first semester. How do we have an idea of who's gonna need credit recovery already? Or is it still pretty nebulous?
I think rejected, but it's definitely not something you want to etch in stone. Because there are things that change between now and the end of the semester. A big project here or there, or a student gets some extra help, or they get into material that they're more familiar with. And change what we're seeing now as compared to the end of the semester.
And a lot of districts so everywhere I worked, we've always had robust targeted services programs, but they also had their own ALCs. But, in saying that, one thing that you can do with targeted services funding after school is you don't run it every single day after school the entire year. You might target grade 3 and you offer 3 weeks of after school programming for targeted services in October, let's say. And then we notice in grade 5, we could use some assistance there. So maybe in February, we offer, you can do lots of different things like that. As long as you can find the staffing, you can do those things as well. But you're not required. And the nice thing is, with Freshwater overseeing this, we're not required to offer it during the school year and in the summer. We can do one or the other or both. Whereas if you run your own, you need to offer some during the school year and in the summer.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what that looks like, if we need it during the school year too or not.
And we also have a relationship now with Freshwater, so as we want to be, change something, just change.
Well, that's a great opportunity. Anything else on the Freshwater, any other questions? All right, we'll go on to Sourcewell election, board of directors election discussion.
So Sourcewell is looking for board of directors. Our region is up if any of you want to run for that, we can put your name on the ballot.
Rhea, did you say you wanted to run for that? I thought that's what I heard. I don't know.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Not at this time in my life. I would be able to commit to it.
That's what I figured. But we brought it up.
Just at least let people know.
When is it's 4-year, 2-year, when do the election cycles come around? I don't remember ever seeing this before. It's like,
That's 4 years, I think,
Yeah.
right?
4-year
just 4-year
term.
terms.
So does that mean I'm sorry, now I'm thinking, so if we entered into a relationship with Freshwater, would we also have the same duties there that we'd have to do? No. Okay. All right.
We've never had anyone from our school participate in this before, right? Sit on source board?
No, on Sourcewell.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Wow. All right, let's go on to approval of superintendent contract.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion by Director Bowman. Second by Director Hackett. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, and approval of donations by resolution.
I'll introduce this.
All right. Member Hackett introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption. The Royal Wrestling Club has generously donated $2,000 to the Royal Wrestling Program to be used towards supplies, materials, and transportation. Clinton and Karen Kopicus have generously donated $3,000 and will receive a match from Medtronic Foundations to use towards the band department. $500 will be used to the elementary school to benefit musical education programs. $500 will be used at the middle school and $2,000 towards the high school for educational band programs and purchasing equipment. The Initiative Foundation has generously donated a $1,500 grant on behalf of the Royalton Education Foundation and should be used to support the mission of the Care Closet Project. Cyber Grants on behalf of Charities Aid Foundation of America has generously donated $100 to support one or more of our programs. Therefore, be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept the gifts. This resolution was seconded by
Trout.
Director Trout. And roll call vote, Director Bowman.
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Trout,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad, aye. All right. And none against this 27th day of November 23. All right. Thank you. Policy readings. So we have a first policy reading. These, we've looked at a couple of these already, and some of them we're bringing back again. So, employee recognition, information technology policy, student dress and appearance, school meals policy, video surveillance other than on buses, student activity accounting, and food service program policy are all in our packets to look at for this next reading. And then, like Director Hackett said earlier, the chemical use and abuse policy, we looked at it once and twice, and we're pushing it to a second policy reading. There's still some stuff there that we have to clean up and work at. So the other one we have is the second policy readings that are in final reading due to minor changes. And that's 103 complaints, students, employees, parents, and other persons. And 404 employee background checks. So I'll take a motion to approve those two.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move those two policies for adoption.
All right, motion by Director Hackett. Second?
Yep.
By Director Bowman.
I do have a bit of discussion there.
Yep.
So you guys that aren't on policy, sometimes we just run out of time, so that's why they get stuck on first policy for a while, so. Sometimes you just run out of time, so just so you guys know that sometimes you don't get to them all, so.
Yep, that's for sure.
You know,
All right, any other discussion?
I wanted to mention policy 210, to the other members who are not on the policy committee. It's just a minor change coming through from MSBA. It's actually a drastic change for the way Royalton runs their policy. So, you know, it's the conflict of interest for the school board members. And the policy change suggested is, to allow employees to be on the school board as long as they earn less than 20,000 a year. Our current policy says that we do not allow employees. So that would be actually a drastic change if we adopt that language change
Yep.
for the way we've been running things here. So
I think
just wanted
that
to-
changed 3 years ago.
No, the 20,000 just went up.
No, I
You
know,
mean the
but it
Royalton,
was
the-
8,000.
it was
and decided to
8,000,
put it down to
so
1,000.
employees have been allowed to be a school board member for a couple of years now, yes. So it's actually the fiscal amount is changing. But in consideration to the way Royalton does things, we have our policy language says no employees can be on the school board. So that would be quite a big change for us if we just adopt that.
Yep.
So anyways, just wanted to make sure that you guys were well aware of that. So we tabled that one because Ryan wasn't there
Yep.
at the last meeting. So we'll probably tackle this one next meeting.
Yeah, if you have an opinion on that, you should forward that to somebody that's on the policy committee or
Or even to me.
to
I can
superintendent work out.
Yep.
So,
All right, so I have a motion and a second for approval of the second policy release. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, meeting schedule, upcoming meeting schedule. So Wednesday, November 29th, Strategic Planning Committee. Do we know who's gonna go to that?
I will be there.
I'll be there, but I'll be there about like 6:05.
Okay,
I'm fashionably late, but I will be there.
all right, thank you. And then our next meeting is Monday, December 11th. So we have the truth and taxation followed by the board meeting at 6:05 after that, basically. And then December 13th, the policy committee meeting. And we already changed the agenda meeting. To that. And then are you still good for December 19th for a noon finance meeting?
I am still good. I will only have a half hour moving forward. For sure I'm starting a new job, so I only have a half hour lunch for sure for the first
They haven't been
couple
running
months.
much longer.
They're usually
so-
pretty quick, but just an FYI to the group.
Well, and that's a question for you guys, because you can do it however you want to, but would it make more sense to do it at 5 o'clock? You know what I mean, rather than at noon to go over lunch hour?
Or in the morning before you go to work.
No, just think about it, like,
They're pretty quick. I don't think we'll have an
Yeah.
issue, but.
They don't want Maria to be what felt
Should work
friendly,
at
but.
home by then.
It works well for me right now.
Perfect.
all right. And then we have to set a January organizational meeting. The thought was to do it on January 8th,
It
that
has to-
second Monday.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the first Monday in January, but that's a holiday. so it Has to be close to that.
Are there any issues with that? And then the only other discussion I had was, she brought up, moving to the second Monday of the month instead of the fourth Monday of the month. Does that create conflicts for anybody off the bat, or do we want to start looking at planning for that so we can have Heidi here?
I'm personally flexible.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah, that's work.
Okay. I have every other Monday spoken for right now, so.
So does Heidi.
So we should be good with that. So just looking at that, there's a couple of dates that we will have to change. As we look at it, I'll just send you an email on it,
Okay.
so we don't have to make this meeting any longer.
Sure.
So January 8th at 6.
Yes, at 6 p.m.
And that would be our one and only meeting then, right?
Yeah, we'll follow with the regular board meeting after the organization.
How does that look?
The organizational meeting,
No, if we switch to the second Monday, how does that look? Because then like policy meetings and finance meetings fall after.
Well-
That would just be like,
We just.
we just offset
it
them.
would just be in,
The
okay.
next month,
the
but
next
Or
month.
we
We
would
just
be
have
meeting,
one,
okay,
January will be a little weird, and then
Okay.
after that. it'll
And then
catch
after
itself
that,
up.
it would just be
Yeah.
for the month after, okay.
Which is weird, okay, probably because December's interesting too, because we have truth and taxation that.
Right,
right.
It's early.
right.
Mhm.
Can we,
I would even consider not doing policy in December. Going from December 11th to January 8th.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question about, can we have our organizational meeting? And then have our regular meeting after that?
We are, yep, that was. what we
But
do.
that's within statute?
Yeah.
Because
As long as.
you're gonna set your date for the meeting that night, and then you're gonna,
We're setting it now though for that first meeting for both organizational and it'll be posted
well,
as.
what about posting the meeting? You understand what I'm saying? You can't post,
Yeah, it's gonna be 2 meetings.
Cause he's saying we're determining
This
January.
board can't set a meeting for the next board.
This is the same board, there's no.
Yeah, there's no change to this board.
It's still a different board, isn't it?
No.
Only if there was a
One's
newly elected person.
2023 and one's 2024. I'm
Should I
just
look
thinking,
into it?
you should look into it because I don't wanna get hit up on that. You're gonna have, you have your organizational meeting, which is required to be on the first Monday of the. Well, you have that and then you have your regular meeting and you don't have your 3 days to notify public that you're having a regular meeting. I don't wanna get my shorts hung up on this. Remember, I started a meeting 5 minutes. They were ready to crucify me, so.
Well,
Didn't it
I will
happen
tell
like
you,
that
so
last year? Like, we were brand new last year, didn't we do the organizational and then like you sat in the chair
We
and,
set them, then we set them, and then we came back like.
oh, we
the
did?
end of
Is that what we
It
did?
was 2 weeks
Oh,
later.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I see what you're saying. If-
Yeah,
If you
So,
can't.
so
set it
I
ahead of
agree,
time.
we do have the same members, but if it was an election year, you wouldn't be able to do it. And why makes this year different because it's not an election year? I don't know,
that's a good question.
Can I'll look it up, I can find out from them.
if we have time yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, cause we can still talk about it in December,
yep,
I'll look it up.
all right,
I know in my past district, we always had a work session following the organizational meeting and then regular, or one or the other in my prior district,
okay,
but I'll just double check.
yeah, I would be happy.
All right, anything else?
No, motion to adjourn.
All right,
I'll
yeah, motion
second
by
that.
Director Bone, second by Director Hackett. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.